Having fled Lyria, Queen Meve ventured into Edirn, her old friend Reynard and new ally Gascon at her side. The war had bitten into this land too. Still, Meve hoped to sway King Demavend to her cause, and, with his aid, to oust the traitors, retake her throne, and drive the Nilfgaardian invader from her realm. Yet to start, she was forced to fight, Scoia'tael no less. Emerging from a wood, Meve's retinue encountered a unit of elven rebels just moments from hanging a handful of prisoners. Among the latter, the Queen spotted a woman, a proud warrior with a striking, thick black braid.
The lass I believe I know.
Well, unless we rush to her rescue, it'll soon be you knew her.
Well said. Lyrians, attack!
Hang the butcher! Below her!
She can't breathe, Your Grace. We must rush to her aid. They block our path.
Free the warrior!
The Scoia'tael warriors shocked the Queen with their speed, their cunning, and their cruelty. Yet in the end, the Lyrians prevailed. When the last elf hit the ground, the Queen had her men untie those they'd sought to hang.
1,000 thanks, Your Grace. Heard many tales of your valor. Pleased to see they weren't just flattery and propaganda.
Black Rayla. Haga, we saw you there. You command King Demavend's special forces.
That's right. Though not many remain to command.
So I see. How did it come to this?
My liege sent me to wipe out a Scoia'tael band, led by a rat called Eldane. Followed the vermin's tracks for several days. Straight into his trap, turned out.
Hunting elves in the woods. Truly inspired, I must say.
Had no choice. Doing nothing would have brought us surer, swifter doom. The Black Clad have invaded Edirn. Thanks to elven aid. They snap our supply lines, lurk like dogs, prey on vulnerable units and scouts.
You mean to say Nilfgaard's broken your defenses?
Aye. Though their march will soon halt, believe me. To advance, they'll have to take Rosberg, a stronghold that's yet to fall once. They'll break against its walls like waves upon the rocks.
Rayla, the black swarm I have beheld. Endless lines of infantrymen, countless riders, war machines capable of crushing the hardest stone to gravel.
Your meaning, my lady?
That we must prepare for the worst.
I'll convey your grace's words to the king at the first occasion.
I'd rather hope to convey them myself. I have come to Edirn seeking aid. I wish to ask Demavend for support.
The king is in Rosberg, overseeing siege preparations. I'm heading that way too to report on our skirmish with the Scoia'tael. I might serve as your guide. These lands I know better than any.
Excellent. Guide on. Gods. The entire country up in flames.
Ebdahi warned punishment awaited Edirn. That he would show the land no mercy.
What in God's names did you do to him, Rayla?
Nilfgaard offered us an alliance against the rest of the north, but Demavend declined, in his clipped soldier's speech. They say Ebdahi flew into a rage and swore he'd reduce Edirn to rubble.
The Lyrians arrived at an ancient, half-desiccated beach. Its trunk sat atop a tangle of thick roots, and scraps of paper covered with tiny scribblings fluttered over it from top to bottom. Travelers crowded all around. Barefoot refugees, bony pilgrims, peddlers with armored escorts, and shifty-eyed men with the haggard look of deserters.
The Wayfarer's Beach,
Rayla said.
Travellers of all sorts swap tales here. Perhaps we can glean something about our enemy's movements.
Or paint the enemy a clear picture of our own.
Gascon interrupted.
Nilfgaardian spies no doubt flock to this tree like flies to particularly pungent dung.
Disregarding matters of status and station, Meve personally asked the travellers for the latest news. They soon transformed from terse to talkative, sharing tales of an elven bandit named Eldane, a Nilfgaardian general called Frigghef who murdered an entire village, and a sorceress who cure any ailment for a few coppers. Then a blood-curdling scream put a halt to the gossip. Meve's soldiers had begun to quarrel with the merchant's guards, one of whom now lay dead on the ground, his throat a gaping wound.
The filth besmirched your honor, your grace. Said you took tail and ran from Lyria like a belted bitch.
The travelers were unmoved by this explanation. They demanded the Lyrian soldier be punished according to Eden's laws, by chopping off the hand that dealt the fatal blow. With a heavy heart, Meve decided the soldier would have to be punished. Reynard silently drew his sword from its scabbard.
No. I shall do it.
Meve said, in a tone that left no room for discussion.
Soldier, you sought to defend my honor. For that I praise you. But you committed murder. For that, I must punish you as called for by this land's customs.
Tears streaming down his face, the foot soldier rolled up his sleeve and placed his arm upon a tree stump. Meve took a deep breath and raised her sword. A terrified scream filled the woods. The travelers gained newfound respect for Meve. Though far from rich, they passed a cap and presented the Queen a handful of coins to show gratitude for upholding their laws. As for her Lyrians, they marched away from the Wayfarer's Beach in somber silence. Soon after entering Edirn, Meve ordered a halt. She wished to sit with Black Rayla and plan their onward march, for Rayla knew every path in the realm, including ones not drawn on any map. They were hard at work when shouts rang out among the tents.
One final time I shall say it. As your senior officer, I order you to depart the training grounds, or...
Or what, pray tell? You'll have me drop and give you 50?
What is the meaning of this?
Your Grace, I had thought to use this interval to drill the recruits, teach them...
To walk.
To maneuver, Gascon. A world of difference. In perfect harmony must soldiers traverse the field of battle. Otherwise, they could break formation. The enemy would penetrate our lines, and our army could be slaughtered.
And therein lies the rub, dear Reynard. Army. This is no army, but a band of partisans, if we do not adapt to the rules of desperation. If we adhere instead to the Academy Codex, we shall lose. Laying traps, wiping tracks, that's what we should teach the lads. Not marching to the beat.
All my eye. A fighting force must have discipline. Otherwise, tactics and planning are impossible. A soldier must obey orders.
A point on which we all agree. And since they are mine to give, I order you both to calm yourselves at once. And never air your squabbles in front of the men again. Our resources are limited. We cannot do everything at once. Prepare your proposed plans for training the recruits, and I shall decide which we shall follow. Clear? Then get to work.
Your Grace.
Meve heard Reynard call out from behind her.
A scout's returned. Claims to bear an urgent message.
The Queen halted her horse and waited for the soldier to reach her. He abandoned all formalities and jumped straight to the point.
Milady, a black-clad caravan, armed to the hilt, rides this way. To believe the rumours, they're hauling a load of war loot back south.
Reynard gave the soldier new orders, then turned to Meve.
Sounds like a prime opportunity to replenish our coffers.
Indeed. An opportunity we cannot ignore.
The Queen said.
Your unit will block their path. Gascon and his men will hide in the woods and strike their flanks, while I shut the trap, attacking from behind.
Their plan established, Meve gave the signal to move out. A brief moment later, the fight began.
We must drive them into the ambush! Follow me!
Sure took your time. Thought you'd forgotten about me.
Now!
The caravan is ours, milady.
Their plan ended in success, the Nilfgaardians crushed. As soon as the dust had settled, Meve tore the canvas off the nearby wagons to see what precious loot they had so carefully guarded. She expected to find gold, jewels, or exquisite silks. Instead, she saw dirty, terrified figures bound in chains.
Slaves,
Reynard muttered.
their precious cargo. Slaves. Behold the glorious future the Empire brings us.
Meve ordered the prisoners freed and discovered they were Edirnian peasants on their way to dig canals and dredge swamps as forced laborers.
You are free. You can return to your homes.
The Queen said. If she expected words of thanks and gratitude, she was in for a disappointment.
What homes, my lady?
Asked one of the peasants, holding back tears.
Took our land, they did. Nothing we have now. Not a rag to wear, not a crumb to eat. Leave us, we die. Soldiers don't do us in, monsters will. Us human hunger and cold don't get us first.
The Queen was about to answer when she heard Gascon, standing behind her, whisper,
Before you make any rash promises, please, some maths. Dozens of hungry mouths to feed, and weak bodies to defend, twice as many tired legs to wait for, while war rages all around. You do realise you cannot save everyone.
I attacked this caravan hoping to fill my coffers.
the Queen said.
Instead, I have only secured a new drain upon them. But very well. In these ill times, we Northerners must help our own. Women and children in the wagons. The men shall march alongside to the rear. I warn you, if you cannot keep pace, we shall leave you by the roadside. Move out!
The Queen's gaze momentarily caught the eyes of an old woman her soldiers were helping onto a wagon. Tears of gratitude poured down her soot-stained face, across hard lines left by years of destructive toil. Niamh was convinced she had done the right thing. As Niamh neared Gatburg, her eyes were drawn at once to the black pennants flying over its palisades. Nilfgaard's pennants. Her scouts found the city's buildings intact, its streets unstained by blood. Black-clad soldiers could be seen guarding storehouses holding loot pillaged from nearby settlements. Curiously, these soldiers were very few in number.
The gates stand open. Clearly the Imperials expect no attack, giving us the element of surprise. We can take back the city and
make off with the gold.
Gascon finished. Niamh hated Nilfgaard and needed gold to maintain her army. Two very good reasons to attack Gatburg. Her decision made, she ordered her men to prepare for battle. Now the invaders would have to try their hand at defending.
Larven! Essay to Navain!
No signs of fighting. These Horsens must have opened the gates for the Blacklads.
They feel at home here, the Nilfgaardians. Let's show them they're wrong.
The Battle of Gatburg ended in Niamh's victory, much to its inhabitants' displeasure. While she examined the Nilfgaardian storehouses, the city's mayor, an elderly gentleman with a walrus moustache, requested a private audience.
Your Grace, I am old. Kill me, you'll merely save my gout the trouble, so I'll be frank. You've but few men. You'll not spare one to defend the city. When you ride off, the Imperials will retake Gatburg, peer into their looted storehouses, and seek revenge. You will be far off, while we shall be oh so terribly near.
The old man creaked down onto his knees and gripped the hem of the Queen's coat with knobby fingers.
Your Majesty, I beg you, leave the gold, or the streets of Gatburg will flow with the blood of our women and children.
Niamh contemplated what to make of the fellow. Should he be praised for his forethought and concern for his townsmen, or condemned for cowardice and insolence? Black Rayla, however, had no such doubts.
Traitors all. Small wonder the town's untouched. Must have opened the gates wide for the southern scum. Now they want us to let them fill their pockets with plundered gold.
Niamh stood before one of the chests, filled to the brim with gold. She slammed its lid shut with a bang.
The gold stays. Every coin.
She said,
In exchange, I wish you to promise when the moment arrives, when Nilfgaard is on the retreat, you will take up arms and stick them in their black-clad backs.
The old man stared for a long while into Niamh's cold eyes, then merely nodded his head in silence.
Was here just a week past. That was a mill. An inn. Out more than ashes now.
And of the people, not a trace. Not even the bodies. Look to the high road. The earth furrowed by wheels, hooves. The Blacklads went at Rosberg with all their strength. An ominous sign.
For Nilfgaard, I'd say. The fortress boasts 2 new towers, a deeper moat, gate of wrought iron. It cannot be taken.
Sadly, it was Rayla who met with surprise.
What happened here?
100-yard gap gaped in the unbreachable walls of Rosberg. The fortress itself was aflame, spewing black smoke into the sky.
I don't... How? It can't be!
There was no time to consider her question, for Nilfgaardian scouts had spotted Meave's company. The Queen knew battle was inevitable, so she gave the signal to form a defensive line, then drew her blade.
Your Grace, Nilfgaardian fighters remain in the city. The battle's won, Your Majesty.
Watch for Demavend's banners! If he's here, we must find him!
The Lyrians met one note of luck in this song of woe. Rosberg had fallen, yes, but the Nilfgaardians, not expecting reinforcements from the south, had stationed only a small detachment to hold it. Meave led her men to victory and retook the fortress. Or rather, what was left of it. What they did not demolish during their assault, the Nilfgaardians burnt once inside the city. Countless charred corpses of both defenders and peasants seeking shelter from the invaders lay among the blackened ruins. Some had tried to shield their children from the fire with their own bodies. To no avail.
Gods be damned!
The Queen cried, pounding her fist against the wall. Meave was about to give the order to move on when she caught a stifled whimper coming from a pile of rubble. Her soldiers ran to the rescue, their bare hands digging through the fiery bricks.
Here! He's alive!
The man they pulled from the ruins had suffered horrible burns. His face was a stew of seared flesh and pus-filled boils, and he reeked of burnt meat. Seeing Black Rayla, the poor soul staggered to his feet and lifted a shaking hand in salute.
Engineer Lieutenant Xavier Lemons, reporting for duty.
Medic! Send for a medic!
Lemons! What the devil's happened?
I know not. The East Tower. I led the defense. Heating oil to tan Nilfgaardian hides. A catapult struck. The cauldron tipped, burst into flames. The rest, I cannot say.
The fortress fell.
Fell? Damned Scoia'tael.
What was that?
Our preparations were perfect. A month, 2 we could have lasted, but traitors were among us. Elves, dwarves planted charges on the buttresses. An explosion shook the tower, a hole gaped in the wall. Our men threw themselves in, filling the breach.
Vermin, filthy, rotten vermin.
I know you suffer, soldier, but Queen Meave wishes to meet with your sovereign, Demavend. We must know what's become of him.
Gone, luckily. He oversaw the preparations, then returned to Aldersburg. 3 days past.
Then let us do the same. Reynard, prepare our departure.
Hold your grace. Did anyone survive? Anyone at all?
No. There were no other survivors.
How could they? An entire detachment? An entire city? The animals.
Soldier, my medics will tend to you as best they can. Then we can escort you home if...
This is my home, your grace. Rosberg, I beg you. Let me join your company. Let me exact revenge.
I respect your fighting spirit, good man. But in your state...
Your grace, I can hold neither shield nor sword, but I can still fight in my own way. I'm an engineer. I build siege towers, ballistae, bridges, whatever you wish. I pray, grant me a chance.
Such pain, such ferocity resounded in Xavier's rasping, distorted voice that Meave could not refuse his plea. Once the medics had bandaged his wounds, Meave's men set out towards Aldersburg, following Demavend and the Nilfgaardians. At one point in their journey, Black Rayla rode up next to Meave. The warrior's lips were a thin line, bitten to blood.
Milady, the road to Aldersburg leads through Moulderwood, where Eldane Scoia'tael prowl. Same filth who killed my men and delivered Rosberg to the Black Butchers.
Rayla breathed deeply to steady her furious, shaking voice.
Please, milady, I ask you upon the holies, let us find them and destroy them.
Meave gave a slight nod. It seemed the road to Aldersburg would prove long and full of challenges.